Okay, good morning. The Prince George's County Planning Board is now in session. We have a number of items here today, and I'm just going to go forward with our announcements. As always, we start off with a moment of silence for those who have passed on, and I'm going to start with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Not Muhammad, Alana. I've been watching The Godfather of Harlem, okay. The Honorable Elijah Cummings, who was a civil rights advocate, a longtime congressman from his hometown of Baltimore. He was a congressman for 22 years, a former member of the Maryland House of Delegates, the youngest chair of the Maryland Legislative Black Caucus, the first African American to serve as Speaker pro tem when in the House of Delegates. He spoke many times in Prince George's County, so many of us had a chance to get to know him and to see him. He was a staunch champion and great defender of his beloved Baltimore.
Amen.
And he was a champion for the United States of America. He was a forceful opponent of a disgraceful immigration policy that separated children from parents after illegally crossing the southern U.S. border. And like many of us, was inspired to go to law school after watching those black and white Perry Mason TV shows. We want to remember the Honorable Elijah Cummings in our thoughts and prayers. Also, we had Charles Jones, who was the co-founder of the capital city Mambo sauce, known as the official wing sauce of Washington, D.C. Now, I would see him in the supermarkets, with his sauces. Sometimes I'm just here to tell you, that's some good stuff. And so he was only 46. He created the company with his wife after serving in the Army. Tashiana Jefferson, age 28, the Fort Worth, Texas woman fatally shot in her home while playing video games with her 8-year-old nephew. She had recently moved in to care for her mother. Teron Lamb, age 24, a driver of a victim in a hit-and-run collision, which occurred at Branch Avenue and Moores Road in Brandywine. He was a resident of Upper Marlboro. Laurel Greer, age 54, pedestrian of a hit-and-run collision, trying to cross St. Barnabas Road in Marlow Heights, and she was a resident of Suitland. Thomas Bamba, only age 38, was the Montgomery County police officer found shot at the top of a parking garage in Silver Spring. He was the 13-year veteran of the police department. Actor Robert Forrester, age 78, Oscar-nominated actor known for his roles in Jackie Brown and others. He died from brain cancer. The boxer Patrick Day, who died 4 days after being knocked out, just so very young as well. And the victims of the Northern and Southern California wildfires and nor'easter impacting the East Coast, New York, and England. And so I may have missed some, but if any of you have suffered a loss amongst your friends or in your family, please know that our hearts go out to them and we extend our condolences. If we may have a moment of silence, it would be greatly appreciated.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I have a dear friend. He was one time Deputy Chief of Staff over at Congress by the name of Enrique Fernandez Toledo, who was a big supporter of Puerto Rico, and he passed away recently.
Thank you.
Thank you. And may we add your friend to the moment of silence, please? Thank you. Thank you. On a more positive note, well, some was more positive and some were not. We closed out Hispanic Heritage Month. We had wonderful celebrations honoring the heritage of our Hispanic Latino community in Prince George's and Montgomery counties. It is October's National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Women, you know what you have to do, and men, you should check yourselves too, because breast cancer is on the rise amongst men as well. It is National AIDS Awareness Month, National Disability Employment Awareness Month, which is something the Commission champions, and we make sure that we walk the walk of diversity, and we make sure that we are open to for hiring everyone of all ability levels. It is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We have the police department, our park police are doing the Shatter the Silence Gala tomorrow, and all proceeds will go to the Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Center at the University of Maryland Capital Region Health, formerly Prince George's Hospital Center. And following that, on October 26th, there will be the Shatter the Silence 5K run walk at Watkins Park. Again, proceeds will go to the sexual assault unit at the hospital. It is National Stop Bullying Month, particularly amongst youth and particularly those in the LGBTQ community, because those children are being harassed and bullied at astronomical proportions, and it's awful. And if you see something, we need to say something. Same thing with domestic violence. If you have been subjected to domestic violence, whether it's just physical or intimidation or strong arm tactics, seek help. And if you know someone, try to direct them, because we have many, many resources here in Prince George's County. It is Polish American Heritage Month. It is Italian American Heritage Month and German American Heritage Month. Again, we celebrate our true diversity right here in Prince George's County and in the Commission. It is also National Pregnancy and Infancy Loss Awareness Month. I bring this up because there are many of us, and I know several in this room, who have actually lost children either during infancy or during pregnancy. And it is very, very hard. And sometimes it's not given the recognition and the empathy that it warrants. I also wanted to say that we have the American Indian Festival coming up this Saturday in Croom, on Croom Airport Road, and I know we have flyers in the back for that as well. And I want to take a special moment to acknowledge some folks in the Department of Parks and Recreation. I will specifically acknowledge Debbie Tyner, who has agreed to serve as Acting Deputy Director of Parks and Recreation effective October 19th. Debbie, if you could please stand. We have Wanda Ramos, who is going to be the Acting Deputy Director of Area Operations in the Department of Parks and Recreation. We have Alvin McNeil, who's going to be the Acting Deputy Director for Administration and Development.
Yeah.
We have Steve Carter, who is the brand spanking new Department of Parks and Recreation Deputy Director for Facilities Operations. A few more announcements. So today is October 17th, and I always give a few little highlights about what happened on October 17th in prior years. 1931, Al Capone was finally convicted of income tax evasion thanks to the relentless efforts of Chicago law enforcement agents Elliot Ness and his team, dubbed the Untouchables. 1933, upon fleeing Nazi Germany, theoretical physicist Albert Einstein arrived in the United States, where he became a U.S. citizen in 1940. 1939, Frank Capra's Mr. Smith Goes to Washington was released, and it was about just a regular, honest guy, good guy, who went to Washington, was elected to serve in Congress, and takes on the manipulative, crooked, money-grubbing, cynical members of Congress in the movie. Okay. So I just wanted to point that out. It was a great movie. People ought to see it. 1956 was the birth of NASA astronaut and physician Mae Jemison, who became the first African-American woman to travel in space in 1992. 1963, let me see who's going to remember this. I can point you out. But the Beatles released their number one song, What I Want to Hold Your Hand. There you go. 1970, Anwar Sadat was sworn in as the third president of Egypt. In 1979, then Mother Teresa of Calcutta was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Fall is here, It's chili today, and October is National Chili Month. I encourage you to have some. It is October 17th is National Pasta Day, and it is National Conflict Resolution Day. So let's remember that. We will have no conflict. Okay. And finally, I want to, let me go right to this one matter, which is we have a resolution. Okay. Are we going up here? If you're not ready, okay, well, we're not ready, okay. So, all right, how about those WNBA champs, the Mystics? And how about our Washington Nats, who won the national pennant, and they are in the World Series awaiting the winner of the Yankees versus Astros series. Okay, so some of us might be a little conflicted up here. Okay, okay. I do want to take, hold on a second. Okay, so that's why this morning, yeah. We're going to take a little recess then. Okay. The planning board is back in session. Let's go back in session. Is there anyone here to oppose the staff's recommendations on items 4A, 4B, 4C, 4D, 4E, and 4F, or any board member who wishes to discuss these items?
Madam Chair, move adoption of staff findings of items and findings and approval of the items on the consent agenda in accordance with the recommendation of staff.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Thank you. And then maybe we can, while we're waiting, maybe we can go, Ms. Checkley, can we go to item 3F?
Ms. Sheckley.
Or Terry, or Mr. Johnson, okay. F, Mr. Johnson's, he'll do. Mr. Johnson, if you could raise the microphone a little bit.
Good morning, Madam. Good morning,
Morning.
Madam Chair, and members of the board. For the record, Terry Johnson, Budget Manager for Prince George's Planning. I'm coming today to request that we repurpose funds that are in our FY20 budget that were earmarked for the T&I initiative. As some of you are aware, the T&I initiative has kind of like gone away. The county has kind of like transcended this program into a regional program that kind of like impacts the entire county. But we received a request from the County Office of Central Services requesting that we repurpose these dollars for Census 2020 efforts. So that is it. If you have any questions.
So you need a motion to transfer the money to the Census 2020 efforts. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. It's imperative that we follow up on the census and ensure that everyone in Prince George's County is counted. As I've indicated several times, we lose $18,250 per person who is not counted, and we had a severe undercount last time. We're hoping to avoid that this time. Every single person must be counted, and including if you were born, if you came into the world on April 1st, 2020, you need to be counted. Every single person must be counted. And in 2010, we lost $363 million. We cannot afford to lose that money that goes towards education, towards countless other services, transportation, and things of that nature. So we are Prince George's proud, and we are ensuring that we will all be counted. Are you with us? Okay, thank you. Okay, so I see he has arrived, and he's sitting down there unobtrusively. But I wanted to, I mentioned it briefly last week, but I want to take a moment to say that Nick Dumais, our Associate General Counsel, has accepted a new position in the Rockville City Attorney's Office. Nick started with the commission as an Associate General Counsel in the Montgomery County Land Use Team. Then he moved over to this wonderful Prince George's County, and he quickly earned promotions that landed him as part of the Prince George's County Land Use Team as Senior Counsel. In a relatively short time, Nick made a number of incredible contributions, including his work with Donna Calcote to shepherd the last major rewrite of the Commission's park rules and regulations, and we are really going to miss Nick. We are really going to miss you, Nick. He's a graduate of the University of Virginia Schools of Law and Architecture, both, and where he earned a law degree as well as a master's degree in architecture. He earned his graduate degree in English from Boston College. Go Eagles. And after graduating, he clerked for the Honorable Thomas Walsh in the Environmental Division of the Vermont State Superior Court, which is a unique land use court focused for the state of Vermont. We wish Nick the best in all his future endeavors in Rockville, and I will tell you, once a part of the Commission family, always a part of the Commission family. Nick Dumais. Do you wish to say anything, Nick? You can come on down. Okay, Mr. General Counsel, I knew you couldn't resist.
Okay. For the record, Adrian Gardner, General Counsel, and I will actually be brief this time. But I'd like to share something with everyone that I've said to Nick because it really it's on my heart. It has been a singular joy to work with Nick on some of these projects. As you sort of said, his impact in such a short time has been profound. And my only admonition to him, of course we are going to miss him, but my only admonition to him is to really, really think bigger. Nick really has a boundless potential. And I wanted to say that publicly because I really believe it. And he's a great lawyer and a great team member, and we're going to miss him very much. So thank you, Nick.
Mr. Dumais.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. I'll be brief.
Is that mic even working? Okay. No.
There we go. So, Madam Chair, members of the board, I'll be very brief, but I said when I joined the Prince George's Land Use Team that it was a privilege to serve here, and I very much meant that. While I regret that I wasn't able to spend more time here, it's been an enormously helpful process for me as a professional to learn the way that things are done in two different jurisdictions. It's been nothing but a pleasure working with all of you, and the commission was really my first job out of my clerkship, so leaving the commission family, at least formally, is something that was very difficult for me. But again, I thank you very much for your kind words, and hope we all cross paths again soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nick. We wish you the best. I announced this last week as well, but I want to take a moment in front of everyone to acknowledge that our own Deborah Borden has been selected from our principal to be promoted from principal counsel to the Prince George's County Planning Board, basically to become the deputy general counsel serving the bi-county agency, and she will be working directly with Mr. Gardner, and she will be wearing two important hats that are going to shape the future of the Office of General Counsel and the agency. She's going to assume primary responsibility over the Office of General Counsel's administrative portfolio, from leading the budget process to overseeing the management of talented professionals and paraprofessional support staff. But then she is also going to coordinate and the work program for both land use teams in Prince George's and Montgomery counties. And she's going to stay with us in Prince George's County for a period every Thursday for a while since Nick's departing as well. So we will have a short term. I'm throwing that in there. She's going to do so much, but Deborah, I have to take a moment to say Deborah has risen to the occasion in every conceivable way. When we needed her to step up as acting planning director, she took a very short moment to think about it and rose to the occasion and did a superlative job, just an amazing job. Everything we've ever asked her to do, she has stepped up very graciously and done so with aplomb and amazing expertise and skill. So, I know Mr. Gardner has some comments to make about you as well, but it's just been an honor. It was a huge coup for us to snatch you and get you at the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission. And we're glad you are staying with us, albeit in a different capacity. So, Mr. Gardner?
Again, I will be brief, but I will say that the Office of the General Counsel has not had a Deputy General Counsel for more than 30 years. It's been a long time coming. So it is kind of historic, and I can't think of a better wingman. And I think that, one of the interesting things about having Nick, and Deborah's been working with Nick, and has had an opportunity to see the agency and the land use issues from a prudential level, and that makes a huge difference. And one of the interesting things that I think that we're finding is that there's a lot of best practice here in Upper Marlboro, and there's also some best practice in Silver Spring. So I think the opportunity here is for the citizens that we all serve, all 2 million of them in the Bi-County region, to really have the best of both worlds. And by having that prudential view, I hope that we can deliver that. I also think that, one of the problems with having a portfolio that is so huge that I've tried to sort of carry, is that I don't always have enough time to do all the things that are important, or even sometimes all the things that are urgent. And I hope that this will only make it better. And so I hope to continue. I hope that actually what comes out of this is some real benefits for people inside the agency, and again, the 2 million people we serve. So thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome aboard,
Thank
Deborah.
you. Ms. Borden, is there anything you care to say?
No, you all embarrassing me.
That's what we do. That's what we do.
I'm very, very grateful, actually, to work for this wonderful agency, and I'm grateful to work with every single one of you every day. Every day. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Madam Chair.
She's a
Madam
rock
Chair.
star. Yes?
And please.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead, please.
So I've only had the opportunity to work with Deborah for a short time since I've been back. As many of you know, that was my old position, and there couldn't have been a better person to take that position. And from my perspective, and this is hard for me to say, she has done a much better job than I ever did. And so, as the department head, we will miss her more than words can say.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing that. And I, too, have to echo your sentiments, because that's the seat I held, too, many years ago. And I, too, will say you've done a much better job. Our planning director, Ms. Checkley, is correct in that we will miss you terribly. But the good news is that you're not going, and you're going to be a phone call away, and you're going to be on speed dial, and you are not that far away, just a little trip down the Beltway. So we thank you, because I think the commission as a whole will benefit from your new position and the skills you bring to the table. So thank you so very much. In other news, so this 2 days ago, after, 2 days ago, the Prince George's County Council unanimously supported the reappointments. The county executive also books reappointments to the planning board. And those two members who were unanimously confirmed are Vice Chair Bailey, Vice Chair Dorothy Bailey, and Commissioner Dr. Will Dorner. And they both bring so much to this planning board and to the commission and to the 2 million people that we serve in this bi-county area, and particularly the 900,000 plus in Prince George's County. They have different strengths, different expertise, but it all works together. All things work together. And I wanted to take a moment to publicly congratulate them. It was a huge blessing, really, for the commission and for Prince George's County and for all of our residents to have them reappointed and continue to serve in this capacity. And we're thankful because it really and truly is service. I can tell you, but their pay is not commensurate with the effort that they put into this. So if we can give them a hearty round of applause. And any comments?
Not at all.
Okay, and finally, we are losing one of our stars at the commission, and particularly in the Department of Parks and Recreation, who needs to be paying attention. There he is. Okay, so Darren Conforti began his tenure with the commission as budget manager for the corporate office for the commission, where he raised the bar in budget management and diligently worked to streamline the budget process and break it down in layperson's terms so that everyone could understand it. Slow down, because we know how we're in it. And he did it with such aplomb, and he brought expertise to the Department of Parks and Recreation that perhaps I don't know that we ever had before at that level. Yes, we need people with experience in parks and in management. Yes, we need people with experience in recreation. But we also, none of it works if we don't have the budgetary and the financial skills to make it all come together. And so I wanted to take this moment to commend Darren and talk about his promotion. He became Deputy Director of Administration and Development for the department, and where he supervised the department's management services, park planning and development, which is more than an ocean, information technology and communication, and a CIP budget of over $2 million for parks and recreation services and programs. That is a difficult task. And also, he was appointed, graciously stepped up to serve as acting director for Parks and Recreation, and where he's done a fantastic job. And we wanted to take this moment to tell you how much we appreciate all that you have given to the Department of Parks and Recreation, to the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, to the 900,000+ residents of Prince George's County, and to the 2 million residents in both counties, and our guests and visitors. You really brought a skill set that is going to be very, very hard to replace, if ever. So we wanted to take this moment to thank you. I know our board members have some comments for you as well.
Well, I do have some comments. I will try to make them brief. I will make them brief. I will chat with you later. But Darren, I have to tell you that I had served on the Prince George's County Council, twice as the chair, 3 times as vice chair. And I never really understood the budget until I met you. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your willingness to serve against the odds. I know that you had some challenges, and I apologize for those challenges that you had, because you brought to the commission a skill set that we had not had. And I really do appreciate the work that you gave. I really, really appreciate it. And when you leave this county, know that there are people who really genuinely appreciated the work that you did. And on a personal level, I now understand the Prince George's County budget. So best wishes to you, and I will truly miss you. Sorry to see you leave, but delighted that you're finding something that I think you will be genuinely appreciated.
Commissioner Dorner?
So to echo those comments, I know that it's not an easy task leading such a large system and stepping up. We've had some challenges in filling the position for a while, and you took it on your shoulders and really led and didn't ask questions or complain. I find it really impressive as I go around to different events, and I don't get around to all of the events across the county, but it almost always seems like that when we have a major event and I show up that you're there in the background, running around, not necessarily out front, but you're helping staff and enjoying it and making sure everything goes smoothly. And I'm gonna miss not seeing you there. I know we've got a whole cadre of folks who are stepping up, which is awesome to see. And as you do, I think you're going to probably find out that the shoes that you're filling are quite deep and long and hard to fill. We'll support you in that, but always remember that what you're doing, we are very thankful for what Darren has been able to bring to the commission and all of the steps and actions that you've put in place, because a lot of it goes unnoticed. Sometimes you may think, but it's not actually true. We realize you've done quite a bit, and we're thankful. We're sorry we're not able to keep you, but we're glad and hopeful that you'll have a great next step in your journey.
Commissioner Geraldo?
So Darren, putting aside the fact that you're a New England fan, putting aside the fact that you're a Boston Red Sox fan, putting all of that aside, we do share some common interests, you being from Massachusetts and me being from New Jersey. I do appreciate all of the hard work that you've given to the commission. Like Dorothy Bailey, when I first came here, I looked at that budget and I was like, okay, so what do I do with this? You came on board and then you were able to put it into layman's terms. And I can say that since that time, I have understood the budget every year. I also appreciate your availability for comments from me, for suggestions. You always kept an open ear. And so that's been very helpful. You'll be a big loss to the commission. I know Alvin has got some big shoes to fill, but he will fill them as well because
He's a North Carolina Eagle. He will definitely fill the shoes.
And so I just wish you the best in your new endeavor, and we never know, you might come back. The door's always open. Thank you for all of your years of service.
Thank you. And then we have our General Counsel, Mr. Gardner.
Yes, good morning again, Madam Chairman. So, Darren, I guess the two things I want to say is I really think that it has been a pleasure to work with you. I know that I'm your favorite lawyer now. But, you know, as we look to the future of the agency, I think that you have actually provided a great role model for all of us. And I say that really for two reasons. The first is when I do training on ethics, I try to use a compass as the idea to try to keep people focused on getting to the right direction, true north. And I have to say that your focus on the compass at every step has been remarkable, and I think it's something that everyone should emulate. And I think we do. I also think, though, that as a manager, I've really appreciated the partnership that you've had with your legal team. I think we've respected the fact that you know your decision making is your decision making, but that it has been. I felt like it has been a partnership, and that is something also that I think is important. So I'm going to miss you for sure, and I think that you've done remarkable work. I think it'll be kind of quiet and sleepy in Howard County. I think that it's been more exciting here, but I look forward to great things from you, and Godspeed.
Okay. Move the microphone towards you.
Yeah, thank you. For the record, Angie Bennett, Acting Executive Director. I had the pleasure of working with Darren when he first joined the commission in the budget office. He and I worked down the hallway from each other. We were joking around about enjoying jelly beans together. Darren was the supplier. I was the beneficiary of those jelly beans. So in my current capacity, Darren and I have been able to work kind of differently than we did before. When he first came to our department, he certainly laid out the landscape for budget in a way, as a planning board member said, very clearly. And it was really the first time that somebody took the time to dissect and help to explain it. But I've had the pleasure of working with Darren on IT council and department directors meetings. And I find that his insight is always very measured, very fair, insightful, and I will really miss him being part of those discussions. And he's going to be in Howard County where I live, so I am happy that he will be taking care of money there.
Well, we're not. But we are happy for Darren, though. Really, Darren, I think back on that very first booklet you prepared for the budget, and it said, "Oh, our booklet opens, to the, just like a real book," and it was phenomenal. And I watched because I participated in those meetings with the then director Ronnie Gathers, and as you would go and meet with each council member, and I saw the light bulb go off in each of their heads too, because they're like, "Oh, for the first time we're getting this." That's such a critical role for a huge department. It enables the department to provide amazing services to all of our residents, and it all worked together to raise. Along with recreation, along with parks, along with everything else that you all do, the historic sites, everything else that you do, it just really elevated the department and in turn the commission. But that part, it was a critical component, and it was something that we didn't have before. So we're very, very appreciative. And so, Darren, we do have a resolution of appreciation, which we are not going to present to you today. And we took the time to elaborate today because tomorrow you will have a farewell reception, and we were under an edict to not have a formal program. So we seized the opportunity today, because you didn't say anything about today. And so we do have a resolution of appreciation. I'm going to ask for a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. You will get this tomorrow, but it won't be read formally. But anyway, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. And then we will always remember you. I know you still have to present your budget, but we will always remember you so very fondly. And this image will come to mind every time we think of you.
Mm-hmm. Not sure about that.
Not that one. That one. So, but
That one, yes.
sure.
But I always thought you were more like Inspector Clouseau myself.
I wouldn't take that, Darren. So anyway, with congratulations, Darren. Okay. I can pass these down. Darren, would you like to come and say something?
I would be far more comfortable talking about the budget.
Well,
But let me-
we'll wait that too.
That will come, but we have many wonderful staff who are handling that function now, and that's one of the opportunities and pleasures you get when you assume more responsibility, is the opportunity to teach and grow others, and we have many other staff. We have a fine budget manager in Melissa Ford who's going to carry the reins. We have a fine staff that'll continue the budget tradition. So I won't say many words about budget. What I do want to just say is thank you so much. I think most importantly, this board extended to me someone who came here from Nevada, and can we collectively say Nevada instead of Nevada, as I had to learn when I moved to Nevada, and came here truly as a stranger. And this board opened its arms and put trust and confidence in me right from the very beginning. And that welcoming, that spirit inspired me to contribute everything that I could to Prince George's County, to this commission, to the Department of Parks and Recreation. I want to say a profound thank you to each of you. This board is absolutely the most wonderful governing board that I've worked with in my entire career, and that spans Utah, that spans Nevada, that spans local government, that spans state government, and it's not just because you're here week in, week out, truly doing difficult and at times thankless work, but you do it with a humanity that brings people to life and brings people together. I don't know where I'm going to go on Thursday mornings to get my history of the day. I'll probably have to tune in on the website, Chair Hewlett, but the spirit of this board extends through the entire agency, and it has been a pleasure to receive that spirit. And I just want to say a profound thank you to the Department of Parks and Recreation. The staff there have been behind me 100%. Most of the work was actually done by them. I just try to make it look good. And they have been there and supported me in times when I was probably more demanding than they wanted, maybe more exacting than they wanted, but they followed and worked with me nonetheless. And that spirit of partnership that General Counsel Gardner references, that permeates everything that we do in the department and everything that we do with our CAS agencies. I was just happy to be a part of that. And I've been with the agency now for, gosh, it's hard to believe, but more than 8 years. And in all that I have contributed in that time, I can say that you all have given more to me than I could ever have given to the commission. The commission holds a special place inside of me, and the decision to leave it was not an easy decision. I do live in Howard County, which did make the decision somewhat easier when I think of my commute, but know that really the pull and the passion was to go back into the budget function full time. And that was a pull that really was counterweighted by the spirit of this agency, the mission of this agency, the essence of this agency. And I am going to miss that. And I'm sure you will see me, Commissioner Dorner, at events from time to time, because I'm sure they're going to keep me busy up in Howard County, at least in the short run. But I will be back because the commission will never leave me. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Mr. Conforti, you just reminded me once again of your grace, because every single time that we've met one-on-one, every single time that the board met with you, no matter what your challenges have been, no matter what your departmental challenges have been, you have always sung the praises of the department, of the staff, of the executive leadership team. You have always taken the high road and elevated them every step of the way. And so and you've done it once again, and we thank you for that. And you said, like the Terminator, you'll be back. And just remember, once a part of the commission family, always a part of the commission families. So thank you. And without further ado, I think that covers all of our announcements. We're going to go right into our budget. And Mr. Kroll. Thank you.
Just a couple opening remarks on the budget. And for the record, John Kroll, Corporate Budget Director. As you start to, this is the second stage of the budget process. You heard an overview of the fiscal situation a month ago. You'll have, this is the first of 2 presentations of the proposed budget. The second one will be in November, and then we'll be adopting at the commission level in December. As you review the budgets before you today and in November, remember a couple things. One, that Several things in the budget are found not in departmental budgets. In the non-departmental section of the administration fund, as well as in the park and rec funds, are the compensation markers, both for salary and reclassification possibilities, and then new this year perhaps as well for potential impact of minimum wage increases. Also, OPEB budgets are found there as well. So when it becomes difficult then to compare department by department percentage increases or dollars, so just keep that in mind as you hear the presentations today and next month. And if you have any questions, please direct them. Thank you. Otherwise, the first up today is the Commissioner's Office.
Thank you, John. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the Planning Board. Our
Morning,
budget
Mr.
will
Clark.
be pages, excuse me?
So good morning, Mr. Clark.
Good morning. Good morning. For the record, Robert E. Clark III. We are agenda item 3C. As you know, I believe you have pages 1 through 3 in front of you, which will reference the Planning Board Office's budget. Our budget this year, we're proposing to increase expenditures by only $37,000, about a little over 1% above the current approved budget. Most of this increase originates in the personal services classification and results from both the benefit mix chosen by employees as well as one of our employees had a mid-year salary increase. Please note that this budget also includes a one-time allotment of a little over $77,000 to purchase furniture for our proposed move to Largo in 2021. Also, per our agreement with the county, the lease for fourth floor office space in this very building will result in a 3% increase. All other non-personnel classifications will remain at the current 2020 approved levels. On page 2, we have explanation of a couple variances in our budget, as well as the history of project charges to the county council, which comprise over 1/3 of our budget. So unless you have any questions, that's all that I have today.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Next up is the Planning Department. You'll find it on page 4 of your packet.
Okay, thank you.
Once again, good morning, Madam Chair and members
Good morning,
of the
Mr.
board.
Johnson.
For the record, Terry Johnson, Budget Manager for Prince George's Planning. In the packet that you received for the Planning Department, we go over what our core services are and some of our strategic goals for 2021. I'm not going to delve into that right now, but wanted to focus on the chart on page 3 of our submission, where we talk about some of the major cost drivers for our budget for FY21. You will note that our budget shows that it will be an increase of roughly about $151,000, which is relatively small. It's about a 0.4% increase from the FY20 budget. One of the major drivers, cost drivers, are in FY21, we are requesting 3 additional full-time career positions to be added to our staff complement. 2 of those positions are being requested for our information management division. One will be a systems analyst to assist with moving and maintaining some of our programs into the cloud. We also have 1 research position, which will be a senior planner. This position will assist with real estate, housing and population analysis, which is a needed service within our department. We are also requesting 1 planner coordinator position for our development review division to assist with an uptick in our subdivision zoning and our urban design sections. Also, I want to point out that our professional services budget will have roughly about a $284,000 increase in FY21. This increase is pretty much related to new work programs that we are proposing in FY21, and I will get to those at the end of my presentation. We also have roughly about $100,000 requested for relocation expenses. to our move to Largo. This $100,000 increase is associated with a server room that we will be building out. And finally, we have about $190,000 increase for countywide mailing. It's a required mailing for the countywide map amendment I guess that's pretty much it. I want to go over and talk about some of the new work programs we're proposing for FY21. We want to update our our master plan of transportation, which is a countywide functional master plan. And we also are planning to do a sector plan amendment for Delphi Road, Purple Line Station area. It's not a work program, but we also have a significant dollar increase to our budget to purchase a land use management software system to replace the DAM system that we currently use. This new system is going to be much more robust than the current system we have, and it will be cloud-based. And with that, I close out my presentation. Any questions?
Are there any questions of Mr. Johnson regarding the planning department? Seeing none? Okay.
Next up is the Parks and Recreation Department, and found on pages 9 of your packet.
Okay. Ms. Ford.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Planning Board members. For the record, I am Melissa Ford, Budget Manager for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Good morning, Ms. Ford.
Good morning. The fiscal outlook for the department is strong, and for FY21, the department will focus on maintaining that fiscal strength while meeting the needs of our growing operational and infrastructure needs within the department. In crafting this budget, we will utilize 7 strategies for FY21. You have them outlined in the memo that's provided, and I'll just provide some very brief highlights. The first strategy will focus on our FY21 CIP, strategically planning for infrastructure improvement. Staff will bring the proposed FY21, FY26 CIP plan to the Planning Board in December. The goals and strategies in the CIP will focus on 3 key areas: financial sustainability, maintaining the existing infrastructure, and ensuring that staff capacity is sufficient to deliver the CIP work program. The next strategy will focus on staffing support for management. In recent months, we've experienced significant levels of retirement and turnover due to the strong labor market. And to ensure service continuity, we will identify our critical to fill positions and analyze how our vacancies can best meet present-day operational needs. There are other areas within the operation where we need to increase our staffing resources. So where existing vacancies are being repurposed, this action alone will not meet that full need. So in FY21, we will bring to the Planning Board consideration for new positions to better align our workforce complement with our existing and growing operational management needs. The third strategy focuses on base budget review and use of our FY20 budget savings. We're scrutinizing our non-personnel needs in addition to removing some one-time FY20 funds that we put in place and repurposing them. And in addition, we will look to our FY20 year-end savings to help meet some of the needs that were identified that we just didn't have the capacity to add to our FY21 budget. In the area of program analysis, we are continuing to understand and analyze the margins between our program revenue and our program expenditures with the goal of improving our cost recovery levels. We have retained a consultant to help us really adopt a strong methodology, and we're looking to implement that at full scale in FY21. In the area of innovative programming, the department will continue its commitment of delivering innovative programs that meet the needs of county residents. Our FY21 budget in part will focus on the second phase of implementing the Youth and Countywide Sports Division, in addition to enhancing our therapeutic recreational programs and general community outreach efforts. Our sixth strategy in the area of conservation and sustainability will implement a sustainability plan, which will focus on reducing our carbon footprint, ranging from solar farm development to wildlife habitat preservation. And finally, but most importantly, is public safety. We have noticed a reduction in Part 1 crimes in our recreation and park system, and we feel strongly that this positive outcome is due to a sustained investment in park police and commitment to a community policing model. So in FY21, our park police will maintain their focus on crime prevention and civic engagement through programs and collaborative community partnerships. And that concludes the strategic overview for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ford. Well done.
I have a question
Oh,
about,
oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
that's fine.
Ms. Ford.
I just have a quick question about community partnership kind of activities. One of the things that we heard of in some of the public hearings was a suggestion that we could have like trail rangers that would be on some of our trails throughout the park system. That might be a way of offsetting some of the costs that we would have. We don't need to have park police in all the areas. We could have more community involvement. So I was just wondering if you could speak to that particular request, but then also more generally just to like public partnerships, private partnerships that we might be able to pursue. Because something else I noticed as I was riding down the trails the other day that you've probably actually talked about many times, may have just slipped my mind, was that there's actual like trail sponsorships of local businesses. So I don't know to what extent we're looking into that in terms of events or parks or other sort of ways that we can kind of bring in others to help us out where we might have shortfalls with staff or other funds.
Okay. For that, I'll defer to our acting director.
You would be back.
Didn't take long, did it? And this is budget now, so,
Right.
you know, I
It's
can
right up
just
your
sail
alley.
right in. For the record, Darren Conforti, Acting Director of the Department of Parks and Recreation. Commissioner Donner, the ambassador program that was mentioned frequently at the Northern Budget Forum that was held in September is something that we're looking into right now. It's not something that we require us to do a budget adjustment. It literally is looking at what are the terms and what does it take to be involved in that and whether or not it fits with the department's operations. So we are looking into that right now. We see that as a partnership that could be fruitful. There certainly is strong community support for it, and that gives us strong impetus to fully evaluate it and see if it's something that we can become a part of. So we are looking into that. The idea of sponsoring trails for cleanup, we can talk a little bit more about that. That'll come up, and it'll be Acting Deputy Director Tyner who will have the opportunity to do this, because we will be on October 31st bringing forward a discussion about a pilot program on expanding the use of trails, particularly in the northern part of the county, to include e-scooters and e-bikes. And what we're seeing is a rapidly evolving usage pattern for our trail systems. And with that evolving usage pattern, we're bringing new people into the trails, which does create the opportunity for new partnerships. And maybe the opportunity to do like highways do and roads do. You sponsor a road and somebody comes by and helps to clean and maintain it. So those are all, I think, wonderful ideas for us to continue to explore and to bring into effect in the near future.
Those lines, I love Northern County, but I live in the South County. And I know at our budget forums, what they've spoken about is to get more participation, perhaps of citizens, to help do the trails like they do in other states. And perhaps we don't need, it doesn't have to be macadam or cement, but it could be a more natural product that would allow people. One complaint that I heard was that in order to walk to National Harbor, they have to go over to the Virginia side, walk from Tanger to go to the Virginia side, then come over the bridge and get to National Harbor that way. So whether or not, so that's an example of where we could perhaps come up with a trail that people can come right from Oxon Hill and walk right up into the National Harbor.
Commissioner Geraldo, that has been an area with increased attention on it in the last few years, particularly since the development of the National Harbor and MGM. And we are currently assembling right-of-ways to expand the trail system, both natural surface as well as paved surface trails in the southern part of the county. And this came up in some of the budget forums as well, and I'll share with the planning board what I shared in private conversation, because I know there are many residents who have the same desire and many elected officials who have the same desire. And they'll say, well, why do we have so many trails in the northern part of the county, but not in the southern part of the county? The answer is pretty logical. The commission was formed around protection of the stream valleys. And so we have a lot more contiguous land mass to put a trail system in the northern part of the county than in the southern part of the county, particularly to go east to west in the southern part of the county. And so we have to actually acquire the rights of way and the easements in order to develop the trail system. And that requires us first bringing a plan together for those trails and then working systematically to get the rights of way to be able to create that continuity. And it does take a little bit more time to do that, but it is something that we are focused on because we've seen over the last 2 budget forums that become an increased area, and also as well as the natural surface trails, particularly in the Costco Regional Park area. So we continue to look for opportunities to expand that as well.
Do you know what the plans are, if any, with regards to the trails or the easements that we have along the Potomac River?
I would probably have to get back to you on that in terms of trail system. We don't have a lot of direct contiguous frontage on the Potomac waterfront right now, and that's very, very difficult land to acquire. But we can look into that. And what I would suggest is that we bring back at some point, once we've got through the budget session, a presentation on the trails master development for the southern part of the county and where we are on that, so that we can begin to engage that dialogue with the planning board.
I guess you have to come back for that, too. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Trolley.
I would want to ask something.
Okay, Commissioner Dorner wants to follow up on that, and then we have Madam Vice Chair.
So just to kind of dovetail on some of the stuff that Commissioner Giraldo asked, one of the things that I've been asking about over the past maybe 1 or 2 years has been on the utility quarters. And I know that in the northern part of the county, particularly in District 2, we're working with one of the council members to bring in funding so we can actually create a trail that would be not natural surface, but actually pave it through there, and that we can actually connect it through to some of our park systems, neighborhoods that are completely disconnected because of the power lines that run up through there. So they'd actually have to go south, hit with the road, go over, and come back up to get in their park that they could literally just walk a couple minutes over. So in connecting, if we don't have a lot of the contiguous parkland, one of the things that would be helpful to know is, do we have contiguous utility quarters that we could actually go on? And my understanding, I don't know firsthand, but my understanding is that we ran into problems not with Pepco necessarily, or the actual public utilities, but actually with DPI. That was actually becoming a problem in trying to connect through some of the trails and get some of the utility quarters. So I would like to know a little bit more about what happened, and why we can't use that potentially as a way, if we don't have land itself that we own, that we couldn't necessarily use utility quarters either through natural surface means or by paving potentially existing asphalt or kind of roads that are in those areas to connect up some of our trails that could hit up on the utility quarters and maybe connect up some of the areas in the southern part of the county or elsewhere throughout our county as well. So if you could kind of look into that, and that might be something you pass along to the others who are kind of taking some of the leadership reins, but that might help us in some of those areas as well.
We will do that, Commissioner Dorner, and while I have the opportunity to do this, I'll flag out in terms of leadership where we have passed the reins to some folks with wonderful competency and commitment to the county, and we just recently promoted Sonia Ewing as the Assistant Division Chief in the Park Planning and Development Division, who is now over our planning program and our acquisition program, so we can bring some more synergy to those two programs. And so Sonia and her team are the trail master planning experts within our department. And so I'm sure Sonia, who's here with us.
She was itching to say something.
I know she's itching. but seeing it's not a fully agendized item, we'll make sure we bring that additional information in a future presentation to talk about how we can use those PEPCO easements as a way to create natural surface trails as well as paved trails, and what maybe the obstacles are for doing that. So, so we can bring that back in the presentation, but we're in good hands with Sonia Ewing, who is leading up that team. So, thank you.
First of all, congratulations to Ms. Ewing, too. That's why we were congratulating everybody today. And I love how you still say we. See, your heart is still here with us. Madam Vice Chair?
Well, earlier, someone, Commissioner Dorner mentioned community partnerships, and that's an area that I'm extremely interested in. And I think we can do a better job with our partnerships throughout the county. There are various organizations and businesses, I think, that would be very much interested in doing partnerships, but we tend to get bogged down, and so that's something I want to talk with folk about in the future. Not today, but just to put a pin there that we need to do a better job in terms of our community partnerships. Not get bogged down on who gets the credit, but let's just get it done.
Exactly.
Vice Chair Bailey, duly noted. Our partnerships program is in a transition period right now, and we will definitely be bringing that back, and we'll be leaning into it from the policy standpoint, which is our partnership and our naming rights policy, which does need to come to the planning board for adoption. And as I say these things, as I'm getting ready to step off, it just makes me feel guilty for what I haven't accomplished. But just to say that it's not without recognition, that is more than a loose end. It's an opportunity that remains out there for us to tap into. So, so duly noted, Vice Chair.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? Thank you so much. Okay.
Next up are the multiple bi-county departments. But before we launch into the first one, DHRM, I'd call your attention to my cover memo on page 13. Just to remind all of you who aren't aware, and to inform you that, or remind you, those that are aware, and inform you of those that aren't aware, that a number of expense areas that are budgeted each year in multiple departments are prepared or disseminated by my office. Those are listed on the front page there. The more important ones have a little bit of further explanation in the memo. I'm not going to go into those, but it's just for your information as we review all the budgets. If there's no questions there, the first bi-county department up is DHRM, found on page 15.
Good morning again, Madam Chair and members of the Planning Board. For the record, Angie Bennett, Acting Executive Director. On page 15, we are requesting support of 3 FY21 proposed budgets for the Administration Fund. Those include the Department of Human Resources and Management, the Central Administrative Support Services, and the Merit System Board. We have looked at each of these budgets very carefully, including the Merit System Board. We've gotten input from the board members themselves. And where possible, we have looked at realigning some areas, particularly in Department of Human Resources, to take advantage of skill sets where they're needed more. So we will not be asking for any new positions this year or funding for new initiatives, although we will be implementing new initiatives. And the primary area of new initiatives for us is improving communications on 3 platforms. Some I've discussed with the chair and vice chair of the commission, which is the front-facing, the public platform on our web. Could use some enhancements. The more you get into it, we are a premier agency, and our front-facing public site needs to look like we are a premier agency. And I think it's going to be very beneficial, the work we're doing with the public affairs folks. I've been in contact with public affairs folks from both planning boards and our CIO's office. And I think that we're all encouraged to provide a focus that we are a regional planning agency, that we are a bi-county agency. And while each department can highlight their achievements, it's very important for the public to know that we are one collective agency that does great work for all the citizens across the two counties. So that will be one of our focus areas that we're going to continue working on. The other one is being more proactive in our employee communications. The team works very hard, and sometimes it's hard to keep up with things in a way that is not always delivering at the time that something's needed. But there is a real priority to focus on making sure employees have more accessible information, and that is one of the pieces. And lastly, we've been working more collaboratively with the departments. Of course, we have department head meetings, and we work with department directors as they have needs that come up. But we've started meeting with department directors more frequently to kind of understand what their operational needs are before they become an issue that's a crisis. And that's, we've received very good feedback on. So those are 3 areas of focus. And Katie Canopy, our budget manager for these, actually she manages more than these 3 budgets, but she's going to come up and give highlights of each of the budgets. But for the most part, our budgets are all coming in around under 4%, and those are primarily related to increases in health benefits and pension.
Thank you. No. You can adjust the microphone. You don't. Okay, thanks.
All right. Hello. For the record, I'm Katie Canopy. I'm the Budget and Management Operations Chief for the Department
So
of
now you
Human
have to
Resources.
move it back up a little bit. Okay.
It's hard to
Thank
hear. Katie Canopy, Budget and Management Operations Chief for the Department of Human Resources. The 3 budgets we're discussing here: the Human Resources Management, the Merit System Board, and the Central Administrative Services Support Services. The base budget for DHRM, the base budget request is an increase of 3.8%. As Executive Director Bennett mentioned, we are not requesting any new initiatives other than the CWIT initiatives. For the CAS support services budget, this covers any type of shared services between the CAS units, including printing, postage, and our corporate archive support. That we're requesting an increase of about 2.2%, mainly in postage. Certain items that are handed out via interoffice mail are going to be mailed in the future. And for the Merit System Board, this budget request, base budget is an increase of 3.0%, which is mainly in personnel services. There are 3 Merit Board members and 1 part-time staff member.
Thank you. Thank you,
Is that it?
Yes.
I think so. I just want
Thank
to
you very much.
highlight.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you,
Okay.
Katie. On the CAS support services budget, more than close to 70% of that budget is from the occupancy cost. So Katie has done a wonderful job keeping the costs down for that budget, I think, to 2% or 2.2%. Katie and Tracy, because they've negotiated a lot of our contracts and done a wonderful job keeping that older building running as we continue our feasibility study, locate another building.
Is that it for?
Yes.
Okay, let me take this opportunity to commend you on an outstanding job at yesterday's service awards. It was really wonderful. Your remarks were wonderful, and kudos to you, and a special shout out to Brenda Barge as well. She did a fantastic job.
Fantastic.
Good job.
Thank you.
Next up is the Finance Department, found on page 20.
Good morning. Joe Zimmerman, Secretary Treasurer, here representing the Finance Department for CAS. We have essentially a flat budget request this year based on major known commitments. That is primarily a result of turnover. We have had a number of key people retire. They have been replaced. If you walk through our accounting division today, you will find, if you knew where everyone sat before, they're not sitting in the same places or doing the same things. I'm still having struggle trying to figure out who all these folks are. We still have some senior accounting needs. If you know any good senior accountants with governmental experience, we'd love to talk to them. So effectively, we're flat. There is a shift, however, in funding requests from Montgomery County to Prince George's County, and that's as a result of our cost drivers, which were adopted by the commission last month. So that should be of no surprise. And I expect to get a little more applause when I say that line in a few hours than I will get here this morning. We have given a lot of consideration to our service needs, our service demands, rather, from the using departments. We continue to add functionality, we continue to add expertise in their support, but we do have a new program coming online next year as a result of legislation, House Bill 2019, which Adrian, our Office of General Counsel, helped shape in a way that we can now build that program out in terms of our supplier diversity efforts and put in proper procedures, regs, et cetera. We believe that program will need an advocate and oversight person. I am not sure whether that is more properly lodged in finance or somewhere else. I think it probably will need to exist. But in these very early days of the budget, and we have not yet quite started the effort to develop that program out, we don't know exactly what this looks like. But I think I would be remiss in not making this request at this point so that we don't come up and have a need late in the budget process with no means to fulfill it. That leaves us with about a 3.5% increase total. Obviously, a little more on Prince George's side. There's a negative funding request on the Montgomery side, and that's where we are today. We'll learn more as we develop out the budget in coming months. Questions?
Thank you. Other questions of Mr. Zimmerman? Thank you so much.
Next up is the legal department on page 23.
And just before you speak, Mr. Gardner, I just wanted to alert folks in the audience that we do have another item 3D, which is the Parks and Recreation item, where we have decided to hold that off and hear item 5, which is a detailed site plan first, and then come to item 3D and then item 6. Okay, thank you. Okay, legal.
Good morning again, Madam Chair. For the record, General Counsel Adrian Gardner. The legal department is proposing the same service level budget. What this budget would buy is the current authorized complement of 18 lawyers and 7 support staff spread across the 2 counties. In general, you'll recall that when I sought approval from the commission to include a deputy general counsel in the complement, I kind of promised that that would be effectively budget neutral. And based on turnover and reallocation of the positions, there wasn't a major reorganization that was necessary. The increase in the budget that's associated with personnel issues is about $81,000 across both counties, which is roughly 3%. And in addition to that, you will see that the budget includes a small restoration of non-personnel spending that was Montgomery County only. That was a funding that was sort of needed to be, that we needed to reduce in order to achieve the spending cuts that were imposed during last year's budget cycle. All that being said, the total increase for the entire department would be just under 5%. And with that, that buys the same level of service. I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Are there any questions? Thank you, Mr. Gardner.
Next up is the Office of Inspector General on page 25.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the Planning
Ms.
Board.
Kinney.
Pardon? I'm pleased to present the Office of Inspector General's fiscal 21 budget for your consideration and approval. As you can see by the chart, our base budget reflects an increase of $31,531. It's approximately 4.6%. Most of the increases can be attributed to employee benefit costs. It looks a little off, you might be questioning. Although the base budget reflects a total increase of $31,000, Prince George's County share actually decreased by $8,731, opposite from finance. And that is due to the labor cost allocations. I can provide more explanation. I imagine I'll have to do a little talking about this afternoon. So that's our base budget. Yes. Our proposed changes, actually, I'm asking for 3 new line items this fiscal year. The largest is a new investigator, and that's really to cover our workload. I don't think the amount of fraud, waste, and abuse is increasing. However, I think the transparency that my office is putting out there is increasing our workload. We're spending a lot of time training, a lot of time out there in the various units, and the hits to the hotlines and the calls are increasing, and we really do need another staff person to manage the workload. That's my largest ask. I'm also asking for a slight increase to the training budget. Per the state statute, we're required to get a certain number of CPEs each year. We hold many professional certifications, and we just, the current budget's just not large enough to cover. And the last thing I'm asking for is a $3,000 budget line item for the peer review. As you know, we need to, every 3 years, obtain an external peer review. We're due for a peer review in fiscal 21. It's going to cover fiscal years 18, 19, and 20. We're able to keep the costs down due to our membership with the Association of Local Government Auditors, but there still is a cost, and I'm requesting a line item to cover those costs. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Madam Vice Chair?
I don't have a question, but I certainly want to take this opportunity to thank you for keeping us all informed. We're working with you, and the work that you do in your office is very sensitive work that you do, but you do it with a lot of sensitivity to the issues, and you keep all of us who work with you informed, quite often much too informed, but we definitely, you keep us informed of what's going on and what's happening. What you're doing is very important, because you do get sensitive information about employees and things that are going on within the department. But thank you for your work, and thank you for what you're doing, and we certainly appreciate how you handle that office, and you have a tremendous staff that works with you. And your professionalism is something to commend. That's something we're trying to do even better. I mean, yes, we have great and wonderful employees, but we're just trying to do a little better job with that, with our citizens and with one another, and you certainly exemplify that, and I want to commend you on that.
Well, thank you.
And while we're at it, and the other thing I'd like to say on that is that you do it with an eye towards addressing issues and enabling the various departments and divisions to fix and address issues, not in the spirit of gotcha.
Right.
You know, so that's what's really critical. And I'd like to thank our vice chair for serving on the audit committee and doing a spectacular job herself. So
yes, she volunteered to be chair this fiscal year. So. Well, thank you for your kind words.
Thank you. Next.
Excuse me. Last up of the bi-county operations is the Office of Chief Information Officer, beginning on page 28.
Okay.
Good morning. Mazin Shelley, Chief Information Officer. The budget memo today is presented to you through PowerPoint presentation slides. That will help give us the focus needed on the topics that I believe matter the most for you to hear. On page 2 of the slides, we talk about there are lists of items that we're going to go through today. First, we're going to go through operational update. Second, we'll look at the composite comparison of CIO budget. Third, we'll look at the corporate IT budget request. Then we'll look at the CIO internal service fund budget request. Then we'll look at the commission-wide IT enterprise licenses. Then we'll look at the commission-wide IT budget in more detail. And then we'll look at the commission-wide IT budget impact by department. And then the last thing, we'll look at the CO at ISF summary, just to bring it all together really quick. And I promise I will not take a long time, Madam Chair. So real quick now on slide 3, the ERP, these are the highlights of the operational updates for some of our projects. That's not everything, but that's stuff that matters the most. We've done a lot of ERP automation this year. The probably most least visible, but most important is the digital personnel action automation and integration. And then we have 2 big modules coming up, strategic sourcing and contract management. That's for procurement. In addition, there's integration with Hanson that we've done for Montgomery County Planning, and then the development of the ERP dashboards. Another big area of development was the enterprise content management project that's going to look at the requirements across our commission. That's underway. And then the time and attendance management, our system that we use for our time card collection, Kronos, and the upgrade and integration with additional systems and deployment of time clocks. Then we have completed the security assessment and the penetration testing, and we shared that with the departmental IT groups. Moving on to the next slide. This is a composite comparison of the CIO's budget. This basically looks at the budget base for corporate IT in FY20, which was $2.9 million approximately. Then FY21, it shows an increase of 1.6% up to 2.899. A decrease, sorry. Then the OCIO budget in FY20 was 1.466, and it increased by 3.09% in FY21 to 1.523 proposed. Then there's a commission-wide IT initiatives, CWIT for short, is gone up from $2 million to 2.3. That's an increase of 1.8%. Now, the second part of the slide looks at the base plus new initiatives. The new initiatives added 1.5% to corporate IT, 3.9% to the OCIO, and 24.5% to the commission-wide IT initiatives. Moving on to the next slide. The corporate ID budget requests basically have FY20 adopted budget. Then we have an increase in FY21 budget by $47,000. And then the proposed changes are 103 for FY21. That gives you a total increase of 1.9% for FY21 proposed. Moving on to the next slide. This is just a depiction of what it looks like. So based on the base budget of FY20, we have gone up by 1.9% for FY21 after the proposed changes that we just spoke of. Moving on to the next slide, slide 7. Corporate IT new initiatives are 2 items: a new help desk system that will serve the commission-wide, and there is the departmental share of the CIO and CWIT initiatives of $18,000 together. That's the $103,000 proposed increase. Next slide, slide 8. This looks at the CIO Internal Service Fund budget request. For FY20, the adopted budget was 1.466. For FY21, base budget increases is estimated at $43,000. That's 3% increase. And with the proposed change of $13,000, that's the department share of the CIO and CWIT. Total increase, we go up to 1.523. That's an increase of 3.9% for the CIO budget. Next slide talks about CIO internal base budget for the Internal Service Fund. That's just, again, a picture of what's done and the reasoning. 3.9% increase was caused by health insurance increases, an OPEB increase, and the compensation markers. Also, the department share of the CWIT initiatives that added 3.9. So there are no new initiatives for the CIO in FY21. The next slide, slide 10, looks at the enterprise licenses. It looks at FY20 base and the increase that we saw in FY21 on some licenses. I'll start from the bottom up. Microsoft is the biggest chunk of our cost in annual licenses. There's a slight increase of $137,000. That's usually due to additional services and licenses acquired by departments. The next item, Kronos, did not change. There was a big increase in Adobe Cloud licenses, and that was mostly due to a changing of the licensing model from Adobe. Our website license has gone up for FY21 by quite a bit. And then our security awareness training actually has gone down by about $30,000. Next slide looks at the CWIT initiatives. Again, on the left, I show the ongoing CWIT projects. Some of these projects started in FY19 or 20, and then the new projects for FY21 proposed. And I listed those projects. I'm not going to go through them all, but I just want to show you that there are some additional requests that add up to 1.1 million. On slide 12, that looks at the impact by department. For the top part is for Prince George's departments. It lists all the licenses here, the impact for the licenses, and the following slide talks about projects. And the numbers speak for themselves. I just want to give a breakdown to show what each department's cost for each and every project and total. The next slide, slide 13, also talks about the initiatives for CWIT. And again, a similar breakdown by project. It gives you a pretty good picture on what is the cost for each department and the total cost for all CWIT on the bottom line on all of them. And it does that for both sides of the commission. The next slide just gives you a quick, brings it all together on slide 14. For FY20 budget, we had requested for licenses and debt services and CWIT that added up to 2.7. The change in FY21, due to the changes that we discussed, is 679,000, brings FY21 proposed to 3.449. That's a total increase of 24.5. With that said, I'm all done. Any questions or comments?
Thank you. Are there any questions? We're good. The departments are all okay, right? Okay. So that would be a yes. Okay.
Thank you for your attention and your time this morning. My sense is that your direction to us is to move forward developing the budgets with the initiatives that you've heard presented today. Our next step today is doing the same presentation for the bi-county operations at 2:30 in Silver Spring.
Okay. Does the board have any questions or comments? We thank you. Commissioner Giraldo, do you have a comment? Oh, no. Okay, we thank you for, it's hard work putting these budgets together. We know that, and then compiling everything. So we thank you very much for that, and we wish you good luck in Montgomery County this afternoon. And I'm sure you'll let us know.
And with Mr. Bates.
And I'm sure you'll have some Ms. Kenny, you'll have something to report back to this afternoon.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to mention that this is a Cybersecurity Awareness Month also.
Yes, it is.
IT.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, everyone take good care, and we'll see you this afternoon. I'm going to, as I said, I'm going to hold item 3D in abeyance for a moment, or for a few moments while we take item 5. Do you need a minute? Okay, so we're going to be in recess for 2 minutes, and then we're going to take item 5, which is detailed site plan 17036 Valley View. Okay, the Prince George's County Planning Board is back in session. We have before us item 5, which is detailed site plan 17036. We have a number of people signed up. Some wish to speak, some do not wish to speak. If there are people who do wish to speak, please ensure that you have signed up, because that's how we know to call you. Okay, without further ado, Mr. Bush, you're on.
Good morning, Madam Chair, and thank you, members of the board. Good morning. For the record, I'm Jonathan Bush with the Urban Design Section. I am presenting item 5, which is a detailed site plan for the development of 78 two-family semi-detached dwelling units, which is in the RT zone. As a matter of housekeeping, I would like to ensure that everyone has received a copy of the additional backup.
We do have that, and I need to ask, was this, do we need to have this, I don't know how late it came yesterday, do we need to have it accepted into the record as staff exhibit number 1?
No, you do not. So it's dated 10/15, and it's DPR's comments dated 10/9/2019.
Okay. So, I'm not sure about that. Because some of us got it last night, but it was before, okay, before 12. Okay, thank you.
Okay. The site is in Planning Area 75A, Council District 7. The subject property for Valley View is located on the north side of High Mount Lane, approximately 256 feet east of Suffolk Avenue. The property is zoned RT and bound to the north by Capitol Heights Neighborhood Park in the open space zone, to the south by High Mount Lane with single-family detached dwellings and townhouses beyond in the one-family detached residential R55 zone, and to the east by vacant property in the R55 zone, and to the west by Suffolk Avenue with single-family detached dwellings in the RT zone, R55 zone beyond. The overlay map shows the Capitol Heights Transit District overlay zone with the subject property to the south outlined here in red. This aerial shows the property outlined in red and surrounding land uses to include Capitol Heights Elementary School to the northwest. This is considered to be infill development due to existing neighborhood development in the surrounding area. The site includes topographical changes and environmental features on the property. Again, the property is outlined here in purple. The property is situated on High Mount Lane and Suffolk Avenue, which can be seen outlined in blue. There are no master plan right-of-ways. The bird's eye image shows the subject property outlined in red, and it sits near the confluence of Brook Avenue and Suffolk Avenue. This image depicts the boundaries of the overall site, which consists of 4 parcels totaling 11.64 acres. This is a continuation of what has already been approved with the preliminary plan of subdivision in 2015, which established a lotting pattern, the road network, access and circulation, to include private streets and the conveyance of land to the Maryland National Capital Parks and Planning Commission and the development of semi-detached dwellings. The site proposes 78 two-family semi-detached dwelling units and associated recreational and stormwater management facilities. The application includes all site design elements for the proposed development and conforms with the requirements of the zoning ordinance. 72 of the units will be accessed via 2 22-foot wide private roads connected to High Mount Lane, and 6 of the dwelling units will be accessed via Suffolk Avenue via a 26-foot wide private access to include 5 parallel parking spaces. The subject site is located to the south of the Capitol Heights Neighborhood Park, a 7-acre MNC PPC property. The applicant is proposing a trail connecting the site to parkland. The trail runs from the northeast corner of the site to the park facilities located to the north. The landscape plan provides the required plantings and schedules demonstrating conformance to the 2010 Prince George's County Landscape Manual. The site plan proposes one gateway sign located on Lot 22, satisfying a preliminary plan condition of approval. The sign faces High Mount Lane and consists of aluminum with forest green lettering measuring 6 feet by 4 feet. The sign demonstrates conformance to the sign regulations in the zoning ordinance. However, staff would note that we are recommending a condition to change the design of the sign to include a mix of materials, year-round attractive landscaping, and lighting. The applicant is introducing a high-quality prototype with varied materials, contributing to the revitalization of the surrounding area. 3 house types are proposed, with the largest being 2,225 square feet. Each dwelling unit will include a 1-car garage totaling 215 square feet with various elevation options. 8 different front elevations are proposed, consisting of brick and composite stone. and the front facade wraps around, uniting the architectural design and acknowledging the high visibility of each lot. Side elevations do present 3 in-wall features, and each dwelling unit will have a rear deck option measuring either 10 feet by 10 feet or 20 by 10 feet. Rear elevations feature vinyl siding with sliding glass doors, and staff recommends approval of the architecture as proposed. This image depicts the applicant's proposal, which provides the required schedules and demonstrates conformance to the requirements of the Woodland and Wildlife Habitat Conservation Ordinance. There is a variance for specimen tree removal, which has been approved with the preliminary plan of subdivision. The site contains primary management area, which includes 5 impact areas, the wetland buffer, stream buffer, waters, a 100-year floodplain, and a proposed stormwater outfall. Staff recommends approval of the TCP2, subject to technical conditions. The DSP and Type 2 tree conservation plan was found in conformance with the requirements of the zoning ordinance, the landscape manual, the woodland and wildlife habitat conservation, and tree canopy coverage ordinances. The urban design section recommends the planning board adopt the findings.
Hold on a second, because
Yes.
something happened to our screens.
Sorry.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Beck. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're good to continue?
Yes.
Okay. The DSP and Type 2 tree conservation plan was found in conformance with the requirements of the zoning ordinance, the landscape manual, the woodland and wildlife habitat conservation, and tree canopy coverage ordinances. The urban design section recommends the planning board adopt the findings of this report and approve DSP-17036 and TCP2-024-2019, subject to the conditions found in the staff report and one additional condition contained in the additional backup of Staff Exhibit 1. This concludes staff's presentation.
Okay, are there any questions of Mr. Bush at this time? Commissioner Dorner?
Can you go back?
Ryan? Commissioner Dorner's mic's not working.
Right there it goes.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to see the elevations of the front of the houses, because these slides are slightly different than what's posted online or what I'd seen before. Can you tell us just a little bit about why we have front-facing garages? Because typically in the, I guess maybe because it's semi-detached and not completely attached homes, but typically we see the rear entrance on the garages in most of these areas?
Sure. Well, the applicant is proposing, again, the front-loaded garage because he is proposing semi-detached dwelling units. And with this site also, the site also presents steep slopes. And so there were design constraints presented with this application. And so the applicant, staff has evaluated the architecture and we approve it as proposed.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Are there any other questions at this time? Okay.
Yeah, I have one,
Commissioner
Madam Chair.
Geraldo, microphone.
I'm trying to figure out, when you say 2 family, are you saying it's 2 families because it's 2 houses joined, or it's 2 families in each unit?
2 families because
So
they are
it's more
joint.
like a duplex then?
Correct, but the code calls it semi-detached.
It's a little different from the Northeast when we say 2 family, it's 2 families in 1 house.
Certainly.
You know, 2 levels.
Okay.
2 levels, yeah. Which is permitted in the RT zone, by
Correct.
the way, so. So, of course, the zoning has already been determined by the legislative body, the council, so, you know, it's established as a permitted use. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Ms. Scudder.
Good morning, Chairman Hewlett and members of the board and staff. For the record, Tracy Scudder. This morning, I have the pleasure of representing the applicant in this case, Valley View LLC. The members of that LLC are present today. Mr. Andy Interdonato is here, as well as Neil Bobbis, who's the managing member. And you all may recognize Mr. Interdonato because he's also the developer for the other big project in Capitol Heights called Metro City, which, as a side note, this board approved back in 2017. So just to let you all know, that's going to be moving forward soon. Okay, back to this case though. I would just like to also thank Mr. Jonathan Bush for his work on this application. I would like to thank the engineers on this project from RasTac Civil Engineers. Mr. Mike Razavi's here, and then also our environmental engineer, Mr. Kenneth Wallace, is present. The applicant has had an opportunity to review the technical staff report and is in agreement with the recommendations and findings. In this case, the applicant is in agreement with the conditions that have been recommended.
Thank you. Great.
Okay. We think this is going to be a very unique development because, as Mr. Geraldo just mentioned, it is a duplex community, and we think it's one of the first of its kind in Prince George's County. We only know of one other, which is located in Suitland, and there's only about 18 units at that particular development. So this is a very unique product, and we think it will do very well. Some of the things to highlight about it is that, each unit is an in unit, and each unit has a front yard, a side yard, and a backyard. Each unit also has, side features and windows, and there will be an option for buyers to add a deck in the back if they prefer. So we think that this is going to be one of the projects that's going to add to the vibrancy of Capitol Heights and become a part of this mix that we see coming of various types of housing units that are coming to the area for all different ranges of income. So with that being said, we are asking for the board's approval of DSP 17036 for Valley View. And if there are any questions here at this time, we're here to answer.
I'll see if there are any questions, and then also remind you that you have the opportunity to come back up after you hear from the other persons who have signed up. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. Madam Chair, Deborah Borden, Principal Counsel. I just have one clarification for the applicant. Have you seen the additional attachment that was included in the backup? It had additional conditions, and so I would like the applicant to clarify whether they're in agreement, they reviewed them, and they're in agreement with these conditions as well.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for asking. But we did have a chance to review those backup documents, and we are in agreement with all the conditions that have been recommended.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions of Ms. Scudder at this time? Yes, Commissioner Warner.
Just out of curiosity, and it's not going to affect my decision here now, but I was wondering, since this is kind of the first of its kind in the area, can you give us an idea of who you're marketing to, price point ranges that you're thinking about, and anything kind of a little bit more around the housing unit itself?
Absolutely. Mr. Dorner, if you don't mind, I think that Mr. Interdonato would be the best person to handle that question. So if I can ask him to come up to the podium.
Madam Chair, members of the board.
The microphone, Mr. Interdonato.
How's that?
Yeah, better. You can raise it a little more. Thank you.
Okay. This project in the duplex form is, again, something pretty new for Prince George's County. And I saw its use in another county, and I really admired this type of application because of the flexibility it gives the homeowner. Again, everyone has a side yard, everyone has a backyard, everyone has side windows, and it gives the purchaser a lot of flexibility. The price range in this project will start in the $369,000 range. We expect to continue to see a trend of persons coming out of Washington, D.C. and surrounding areas. in search of more affordable but quality housing. We've seen this happening all over Capitol Heights because its location next to the district and its access to the metro lines. So that's the market we expect to accommodate. Overwhelming majority of the people in that market are either working for the federal government or associated industries. They're young professionals, and I think they'll appreciate this type of product. Any other questions?
Could you state your full name for the record,
Yes,
please?
for the record.
Yeah, Andrew G. Inter Donato.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Not a question, but a comment used as well as Ms. Scudder referenced Capitol Heights, but it is not Capitol Heights, the municipality proper. I don't think it is.
No, I don't think it is either, but we consider ourselves part of
Right.
Capitol Heights.
That's fine. Just wanted to
Okay.
make that clarification.
Okay. Other questions or comments at this time? I'm going to go.
I've got one,
Okay.
just out of interest. Is there any future, do you see any future where you're, instead of just building the duplex, you might build, for example, a duplex such as this, but it's for two families, like a flat, one on top of the other?
Yeah, that's known as a 2-over-2 application,
Yep.
usually done in a condominium type of situation.
I'm thinking more like the ones you see in New York, New Jersey, and where you have a one family, then you have actually one building and you have three families, three different units.
It's like one per level.
Right.
One per level. I think that's being done in the county also, in many places, with 2 levels. I have not seen 3, but it may be a good idea and something that we should look into.
Well, the reason I say is because I've seen it used a lot in the Northeast.
Yeah, I think we've got the 2-over-2s like in Editor's Park.
No, the 2-over-2s, but I'm thinking 3. The only reason I raise it is because what I've seen it happen in other areas is that it allows a working person to purchase the house because they buy the house, they live on one of the levels, and they rent out the other 2.
Oh, that's
And it gives them an ability, if they don't have the income to just buy, they have an income-producing property, and it kind of opens up the market for the workforce to purchase properties. That's why I raised it.
Okay, well, I think that's, a great concept, and I'm not not aware of that in our zoning mix at this time.
How about if we, that's a separate issue, so how about that's something we address, because to have that requires, it's not your ordinary house with 3 levels, because it requires kitchens and things like that on every floor. So, but we can address that a little bit later, if you don't mind.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
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 Is that it?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's go down the list. I just want to remind everyone who comes up to speak that the zoning, that this board is not addressing the zoning. The zoning has already been enacted by the county council, and the zoning allows detached and attached 2- and 3-family dwellings. So, we want to hear what the issues and concerns are, but that is not one that we can address. Barry Bailey? Come on down. And is Patricia Wigfall here? You'll be next, okay?
Good morning, Council.
Good morning.
My name is Barry Bailey. I'm the son of Peyton and Geraldine Bailey, who are here, and they actually reside a few feet away from the proposed road that's going to come through, as well as the lot number 1 of this site plan 17036. On a couple occasions, the builder representative stated that there would be a 8-foot brick privacy wall just a few feet away from my parents' property. They've been there for over 50 years, and that particular wall was to be brick in structure, and it was supposed to sit on close to the line on the Valley View side of the property.
Okay, can you hold on while Mr. Bush catches up with it? Okay, it's okay. Okay. So you said an 8-foot brick privacy wall?
Correct.
Okay.
Continue?
Yes.
One of the quotes I sort of remember,
Excuse me, did you say to go along both of those boundaries? Or just, is that what you said, sir? Or just the one?
beside the Bailey property there at 746, and its parcel, I believe their parcel is 134. But it's right next to lot 1 that's on this plan, because I'm staying strictly with the plan.
Okay.
So it's right next to lot number 1, on this side of lot number 1. It was stated that the privacy wall would be constructed of 8 foot in height and would run from the front of their property line to the edge of the hill at the back of the site. And one of the quotes that I sort of remember him saying, and saying this to our family.
That's the question I asked you. Okay, so it's both of those. Okay, the cursor. Thank you. And it was stated in a meeting or stated one-on-one?
It was in
or
a
what?
family meeting with
Family meeting. Okay.
my sister, brother back here, mother, father.
Okay.
And the quote I remember him saying is that this is the least that they could do to maintain the peace and enjoyment that you all have had over the years. And I will conclude by saying that I'm only up here just to say this because, according to Plan 17036, this wall is not in the plan.
Okay.
So that's basically, I'm just asking, how could we, be sure that this particular promise will be fulfilled?
Okay.
That's
Thank you,
that's
Mr.
what I have
Bailey.
to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And Ms. Wigfall?
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Patricia Wigfall. I'm here to represent my parents, Peyton and Geraldine Bailey, who have lived at 746 Suffolk Avenue, Capitol Heights, for 51 years. They live beside the proposed Lot 1 home at the Valley View property in DSP 17036. There's a valid health concern on the soil at the Valley View property. In 1996, my parents witnessed illegal truck dumping on the property that Valley View currently owns. My parents wrote letters to PG County to let them know of their concern. PG County put a stop work order on
When
this
you say
property.
that, do you mean the Prince George's County Department of DPI, Permitting Inspections and Enforcement? They wrote to the county, the Prince George's County Department of DPI? Is that who they wrote?
I think so, yes.
Okay,
ma'am.
someone came out?
And someone came out and put a stop work order
Okay.
on that property. Yes.
Was this the owner of the property at the time?
No, he was not the owner. It was in
Okay.
1996.
Okay.
When we witnessed that,
Okay.
when my parents witnessed that.
You don't know what it was?
Excuse me?
You don't know what was being dumped? What the substance?
Yeah, I'm getting ready to tell you now.
Sorry, okay.
I'm getting ready to tell you. What we believe to be in the soil on site at the Valley View property is asbestos, ceiling, and floor tile. It's toilets, it's a truck, it's several vehicles, it's bathtubs, it's bathroom sinks and things, and other plumbing
the soil?
fixtures in the soil.
So you think if they go digging, they're gonna find bathtubs and toilets and things?
Toilets and asbestos. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We are concerned that the movement of these items, especially the asbestos, could possibly create a health hazard for humans in that area. And my family frequently sit on their patio, which is right beside the property, for long periods of time, just enjoying, their patio. So our concern is the asbestos that's
Okay, so
that
you said
could
you
possibly be
believe,
there.
was that ever confirmed? Do you know?
We weren't privy to those reports to know what exactly was there, but they did put a stop order on the property.
Okay.
In 1996. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay, that's what we wanted to know. Okay. Was that it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, thank you, Ms. Wigfall.
Thank you so much.
Was there anyone else who wished to speak on this matter? I have some other people signed up who indicate they do not wish to speak. Okay, Ms. Scudder, can you address, let's start with the privacy wall.
Yes, I can tell you what I know, and then I'm going to probably ask Mr. Interdonato to come back up, because I know he's had several meetings with the neighbors.
So he can come up front now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he can just start, he can make his way up front.
Okay. And I know there has been some discussion about a fence, but one thing I want to mention is that early on, after meeting with the neighbors, Mr. Interdonato made a decision not to develop a couple of the lots that were in closest proximity to the Bailey home. And that was not that he by right couldn't have developed those lots, because, you know, they would have met the setback requirements, landscaping requirements, and so he could have put houses there, but he eliminated those two lots just to afford those homeowners some additional privacy. And so now I believe that the closest house would be approximately, I think the closest portion of the property would be 80 feet from the nearest house to be built. And even with that being said, I believe Mr. Interdonato did offer to install some type of privacy fence for the neighbors.
Okay. Well, let's hear about that. And then the other thing is, are you aware of this issue with regard to the soil? Or?
We do know that at some point in the past there's been dumping on that property. We're not sure what type of dumping, but the property has been soil tested, and the soil testing did not reveal any type of hazardous materials. And additionally,
okay, so soil tested by whom?
GCA.
So you had the soil tested, or?
Let me let him come up, if you don't mind.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Interdonato?
Yeah, it was we did 20 different soil tests on the property.
I'm sorry,
Can you speak directly into the mic?
Yes, we did 20 different soil tests on the property.
When were those tests?
Approximately 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Yes. And none of them revealed anything that I would consider to be hazardous material.
Okay, wait a minute. You said anything that you would consider hazardous. Did anybody else? Where are these reports?
No. I have them with me.
Okay, I mean, because you've got citizens next door, and they've said that they have never seen a report. I mean, they need to know, because you said there's nothing, the reports do not indicate anything that you deem to be hazardous, but I don't know if any other entity would deem it to be hazardous. Okay.
Excuse me, in my professional opinion, they would not. Nothing is shown on the soils report that indicates any type of hazardous material.
Okay, so I don't know why I mean, I know Ms. Wigfall said asbestos, possibly asbestos, she believes, but she doesn't know, and she hasn't seen a report, and I don't know what precipitated her belief. Now, the other things, bathtub sinks and whatnot, in order to have them in the ground, somebody did some serious digging to bury them in the ground, like if you had bathtubs and
prior
things.
to our environmental studies, prior to our NRI, prior to the tree stand delineation, we took approximately 20 truckloads of junk off of this property.
On the surface, though, not
on the surface.
Okay.
On the surface. Now, again, none of our soil tests revealed anything under the surface. Now, we could have missed something.
Okay.
And that would, of course, be discovered during the course of construction.
Correct.
And handled appropriately.
That's fine. Okay. What about the fence? Can you talk about was there a commitment made about a privacy wall?
Absolutely. We discussed this, and we're still committed to do that.
So are you proffering that as a condition?
I am, but there's a condition with it.
Okay. What's your condition with it?
The condition with it is that we have all technical plans approved, submitted and approved, so we can be sure where the utility lines are. Where
So you mean you are proffering a privacy fence? Is it, as was indicated, the 8-foot tall brick fence?
Well, I don't think we're allowed to go 8 feet after that discussion, I checked some of the codes.
Okay.
And I think we're only allowed 6 feet.
Okay.
If we're allowed 8 feet, we'll go 8 feet, but I think we're only allowed 6.
So so basically, so you're committing to the brick fence along those borders, subject to approval of the various requisite agencies?
All the plans, yes.
Okay.
Washington Suburban Sanitary.
Okay. And
EPCO,
utilities, okay.
And utilities. To make sure they don't interfere with construction of the
Okay,
fence.
that makes sense.
Okay.
And the height will be determined on the basis of what's permissible, legally permissible.
That's correct.
Okay, so then, do we have that? Ms. Kosak, are you?
Just while we're waiting, do you know if any of the soil testing that you did it check for asbestos? Or you may not be aware, because it seems like kind of something random that may not be a normal part of soil treatment testing.
In my experience, any professional organization like GTA, which is a professional geotechnical soil testing company, would be obligated to reveal any questionable materials.
So how about submitting one of these reports into the record for us to
Yeah, I think
review?
that would be helpful if you don't mind for
Sure.
your case.
I have it in my briefcase.
Okay. Would you mind going and grabbing them and then?
We can have, I don't know how long they are, but we can have them,
Look at it.
and we can, but if you're going to submit it into the record, we'll need to keep it, so we can make a copy, and we can keep the copy if you need to keep it. And actually, if we could have someone take, because you said you have 20, I don't know that we need to look at all 20 of them. Is there one, the most recent one, that is thorough, Mr. Interdonato? They don't look very thick. I know, I need someone to. Ms. Schullers, can you take a look at it?
Madam Chair, Andre Checkley, Planning Director. We can take a look at that, but that is generally a Health Department and permits issue, not something we would.
It is. I'm aware of that, but I want us, we have citizens who are a little bit concerned, and the board has made some inquiries. So I think if we can take a look at it and then direct it to the Health Department too, that would be fine. Okay. So,
didn't make any comments.
but I don't know if the Health Department, we have no comments from the Health Department, but I don't know if they saw that and if that can be submitted to the Health Department. We can do that. Mr. Interdonato, you have some comment?
When we get into the construction phase of the houses, we have to do an individual soil test on every pad. That goes down 14 feet.
Okay.
That's another backup. And again, I reiterate, if during the course of site development, excavating, whatever, we find something, that we know to call an expert to evaluate
Okay.
it and dispose of it properly.
Okay.
That's standard procedure on our part.
Okay. But I don't know that the Baileys weren't, I don't know if they knew that or not. And it would be helpful, in terms of your further communication, if you could let them see the reports and keep them abreast of what's going on as well.
Definitely
Okay.
will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so, Ms. Kosak and Mr. Bush, you're working on the proffer from Mr. Interdonato regarding the privacy wall, subject to the approval of the utilities and the height limitation. Okay. Ms. Scudder? Anything else?
Well, that would conclude our presentation if there are no further questions from the board.
Let's see. Are there questions from the board? Okay.
I'm just waiting for staff to come up with that
Thank you.
language.
Okay. You want to take a peek at the language? Too? Thank you. Let me just say this. We don't need the precise wording right now because there will have to be a resolution embodying our decision today, but you're getting the gist, and we want to restate it on the record that that the applicant in this matter has proffered a privacy wall, a brick privacy wall that will be either 6 or 8 feet depending on the legal height limitation. And depending on the approval of the requisite utilities and WSSC, et cetera. Okay.
Necessary.
Yes. Subject to. Okay. So that's the gist of it on the record, and we don't need to see the exact language right now. Just make sure you consult with counsel and Ms. Scudder before the resolution comes back before us. Okay. That's it.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve DSP 17036 and TCP -024-2019, along with the findings and associated conditions and the one in the backup, as well as the applicant, as a condition, the applicant proffered a brick privacy wall from 6 to 8 feet. If 8 feet is allowed, it would be 8 feet, dependent or subject to approval by the various utilities.
So before seconding, I just want to double check, we had staff looking at some of the soil reports, and I just want to make sure nothing came up, because I don't want to approve something that has any health concerns. I don't know if they had time to look at it.
Commissioner Dorner, Madam Chair, members of the board, the staff has reviewed these soils reports, and they haven't seen anything significant that's outstanding that's going to be of concern.
Okay, thank you. I'll second the motion.
But it would be addressed by the health department also, and Mr. Interdonato has assured us on the record that he will keep the neighbors abreast and the Baileys abreast of this and the subsequent findings. Okay.
And I'll second the motion then.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We're now going to item, let's just take real quick item 6, which is, we have before us a resolution. Where's my resolution?
Oh, is that historic?
So, we have before us a resolution that reflects our recommendation to the District Council regarding a minor amendment to the 2010 Prince George's County Historic Sites and District Plan. So is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve PGCPB number 19-119, resolution that would adopt CR 722019.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, item 3D.
Oh, Costco.
Yeah. Okay. We're good.
I think it's afternoon, so good
It is.
afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Chair Hewlett and members of the board. Again, I'm Bridget Stesney. I am the Division Chief for Park Planning and Development at DPR. Thanks for allowing us to be here today to talk to you about the Casca Master Plan, or Master Park Development Plan. As you know, we recently completed the Park Development Master Plan for Watkins Regional Park, the first of 4 park master plans that the team is going to do. And just last month, we were here with you and we kicked off the work for Walker Mill. And so now Casca is being added to the work program. So we are eager to think about Casca, the future of this park, how it plays a role in the Southern County, and how it really helps meet the needs of county residents. We are in the final stages of procuring a nationally recognized consultant team to help us with this work. They're multifaceted. They're going to come to us with not only recreational planning experience, design experience, market analysis, and environmental skills. So we're excited to have them on board, hopefully in a few weeks. Mr. Herring here is going to dive deeper into the work coming up at Casca. He's, of course, supported by Sonia, Laura Conley, and Claire Wirshall, who are all here today. And we are really excited to be here. Again, thank you for the time. We'll be back in the near future to update you and let you know what we think will happen.
And Don, obviously, and our new Ms. Ewing. Okay.
Yeah.
Not so new, but okay. And then we had Ms. Worstel.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thanks so much.
Nope.
How about now?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the Prince George's County Planning Board. For the record, my name is Don Herring. I'm the park planner for the southern area of Prince George's County, Maryland. And I'm excited to be here with you this morning to talk about the Master Park Development Plan for Casca Regional Park. As Bridget mentioned, the Park Planning and Development team will be heading up this project, with Bridget being our division chief, Sonia being our Park Planning and Land Acquisition Program Manager, Laura Conley, our acting planning supervisor, Claire Warstill is our strategic planner, and I will be serving as the project manager. Briefly, I want to just discuss some of the defining features of a regional park, consisting of trail networks that extend to adjoining areas, special characteristics that express the local environment and culture. Also, the regional park typically has a lot of athletic fields, as well as picnic facilities and playground. In addition to a wow feature with at Casca, we have our wonderful skate park that's heavily used by skateboarders from around the region, as well as a historic component, which at Casca is our thrift schoolhouse. And constructed in 1884, this is one of the oldest surviving one-room schoolhouses in the county. Just a brief background on the Casca Regional Park. As you can see on the map, it's highlighted in yellow. The first parcels were acquired in. Okay. Oh, it's very faint. I'm sorry on the map. It's outlined in red, but it's about 790 acres.
We don't have it.
So something's going wrong here with the presentation. We don't have it in our screen.
Well,
So you
it's
can see on the sides.
adjacent to, it's a map inset adjacent to the background portion, so you can barely see it.
The
but
sides aren't updating. So
No.
if you look over to the
We're in a
side
different
monitors,
place.
this one's
Okay.
different. Yeah,
Sorry
now we're
about
on.
that.
Okay.
We're on different scripts.
Oh, here we go.
Okay. But just wanted to point out on the map that to the southernmost portion of Casca, you see the green corridor. That is our Piscataway Creek Stream Valley Park, which is critical because our long-term vision for trails in the southern portion of the county, we envision a trail that would run from the Potomac River to the Patuxent River via the Piscataway Creek Stream Valley Park, which touches Casca, with connections into the park, as well as routes into the Rosaryville State Park, leading on to the Patuxent. The first parcels acquired at Casca were in 1962, and the park opened in 1967 as Clinton Regional Park. It was later named Casca Regional Park after our former Park and Planning Commissioner, Ms. Louise F. Casca, based on her outstanding service and push for the project, and making it come to fruition. So it is the second largest park in our inventory, second largest regional park, second only to Watkins Regional Park. Now, this slide just shows some of the approved CIP projects for Casca Regional Park. A lot of park improvements planned, in addition to some skate park enhancements, renovation of the Casca Lake, some stormwater infrastructure improvements, as well as maintenance and repair of our thrift schoolhouse. Oh, also wanted to point out our Imagination Playground. I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that. That's planned. Yes, that's planned to replace the existing playground, so that's going to be a major catalyst for this project. Just some of the active park amenities. We have several lighted diamond ball fields that are heavily used. We also have a tennis bubble that was renovated in 2016, so with the new air structure. Multiple playgrounds, the skate park, we have the lake where we allow for fishing and paddle boating. We have a campground area as well as picnic pavilions and walking and equestrian trails.
Is that lake stocked? Do they stock the lake?
Yes, yes, they do.
I've never caught anything.
Well, I've never caught anything either. My last name is Herring, so I
We're both bad fishermen.
Yep, yep. Passive park amenities consist of our Clearwater Nature Center, where we have several programs at that facility throughout the year, as well as the thrift schoolhouse that I mentioned, the lake, agricultural lands, and natural and wildlife habitat. Some of our major events you may be familiar with are our Southern Area Operations Unit does a great job with the Easter extravaganza, concerts in the park, Unwind in the Woods. There are hosts of athletic tournaments and summer events as well. Some of the master plan vision for Casca Regional Park. Casca is a destination, and we want to make sure that we enhance that with this master plan effort, just to preserve and enhance some of the existing park natural features, as well as integrate public art into the park. We started with that at our Casca Skate Park. We had local skateboarders. There were artists put up panels there, so if you get a chance, you may want to go see some of that art when you get a chance. Also,
Someone close that back door. Thank you.
Okay. Also wanted to pursue partnerships with public-private recreation providers to reduce the cost and expand the park experience for the community, as well as marketing, promotion, and sponsorships for key elements. Casca does have its share of challenges due to the steep terrain. It affects the site circulation at the site, so we have wonderful amenities at Casca that are somewhat disconnected due to the slope challenges. So we're hoping that working with our consultant team, we'll be able to identify those challenges and work through that, as well as some obsolete amenities that we can kind of freshen up and try to address the changing needs and desires of users. We also feel this would be a great opportunity to add some new features such as a dog park or parkour or mountain bike courses throughout the park. So we're excited to address these items and work with the community closely on it. The master plan will also address accessibility challenges that exist, as I mentioned, circulation to connect our existing facilities, enhancements of our campground areas and some of our restroom facilities, as well as strengthen connections between the park and adjacent neighborhoods. And so we also have our Southern Area Maintenance Yard at Casca Regional Park, so we will try to make sure that we stay connected with them and they have all the services that they need for improvements of their facility as well as rehabilitation of our existing boat dock. It'll be assessed as well.
I have a question.
Yes,
So
sir.
with regards to the master plan,
Yes.
anything in there to put some soccer fields in there?
That's a great question, because as the previous slide indicated, currently all we have are the softball
That's what I
fields.
was
And the,
thinking.
yep. So you will definitely address the additional fields as well as sports courts, basketball courts, in addition to the existing tennis courts. Great question.
Thank you.
Yes. There's going to be a heavy public outreach component associated with this master plan effort, including speakers bureaus, webpage, community open houses. We have several communities that are adjacent to Casca Regional Park, Bonniewood subdivision, and others. And we just want to make sure that we address the needs of the communities and the desires of the communities, and work through any issues that may come up with the site in conjunction with that. And so we will be doing a mass reach out to the community with forums and other commitments. In terms of the project timeline, we've completed the pre-planning for this project, and we're, as Bridget indicated, finishing up the procuring of the consulting services. So we should have someone on board prior to, I would say, December of this year. They will initially start out with data collection consisting of evaluating the existing infrastructure on the site, as well as interviewing staff to make sure that, they're meeting the needs of our internal customers. As well as after that, we'll kick off a meeting with our key stakeholders consisting of the community, our local and state agencies, and our county council members and other elected officials. And then we will work with our data analysis. So we expect to complete the draft master plan. It takes approximately 18 months to complete, so you're talking sometime in the spring of 2021. In terms of next steps with the master plan, as I mentioned, just continue to procure the consulting services, meet with the community stakeholders, and actually kick off the master plan with the community, hopefully before the spring. Any questions?
Good job. Nope, really good job.
Excellent. Thank you.
Our parks, and particularly our regional parks, are just getting just better and better and better still. And with the incorporation of the, we have so many other amenities incorporated into our parks, and then on top of that, the imagination playgrounds. They're just really awesome. So we thank you for submitting this. And do we need a vote to support, or no, just a briefing? Okay.
No, but
Okay.
if I could just add one more thing, Madam Chair.
You may indeed.
I was remiss in acknowledging the fact that this project also has the support of our executive management team, as well as a dynamic resource team consisting of cross-departmental staff, as well as the planning department staff, so.
Oh, great. Thank you.
So all of the above. Okay, all of the above. So, okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Herring, and thank you so much to the team. Okay, we really appreciate it. Thank you very much to the Department of Parks and Recreation. Always do a stellar job, so we greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
And, okay, Mr. Hunt.
Uh-oh.
Mr. Hunt? Mr. Hunt, is there any further business to come before the planning board today?
Madam Chair, that's all we have for you today.
Planning board
great.
is
Great.
adjourned. Thank you.